want to show you something that I just got and I had a problem with it, which I think you can probably see. This is one of those neat little spring open photo cubes, and it's basically like a light booth, and I'm going to set up lights around it. But first off, I took it out and I put it into position. I see a problem I didn't like. These hoops are just spring metal, which is good, but you can see there's nothing to hold the last one on the opening into a decent shape. What I'd like to see is something more like this. And so I started playing around with ways. Certainly I thought of a wire first off to string across there, but then you'll have that across the front where you want to put your camera, so that would be in the way. What I ended up coming up with are these little strips that you see here. It's just wood, and there's a groove down the center. Now, the shape of that and the size is roughly on this drawing here. So you could probably, if you wanted to, stop the video and take the measurements there, but you can see it's about 3/8 wide, and I have the depth of about 1/2 inch, but it could be whatever piece of wood you have, and the depth of the groove is about 5/16 of an inch. Now that's because the spring metal is flat spring metal, and that will capture in the groove, and these are about 14 inches long, and that's because I have one of these big cubes. I suppose if you wanted to make it for yours, you'd make it a little shorter or longer depending on the size you had. And what I do is I get this near the center, I get it started, and I have to work it around, and you push that spring metal into that groove. And it takes a little maneuvering, but once it's in place, it stays there. And you do the other side, and again, just work it in. Kind of, you can see how I just kind of start at one end and work it into the groove as I go until I get to the other end. And there you are. Now it's in shape. Now, if you want to make these, I make this on the table saw. And you see, if you look at the end there, I rotated that so you don't really have less of a chance of punching through this thin material. I make this on the table saw, but I'll tell you how to do it so that you keep all your fingers on your hands, because you don't want to just cut these to shape and then try and hold that on the table saw and run that groove in there. That would be very dangerous, even if you have a zero clearance insert on your table saw. So what you want to do is start out with a piece of wood, certainly wider, and I've pre-cut the grooves in there. Now, given the dimensions, you see I have set up my saw for the depth, and I ran it about 1/4 inch or so. I didn't really measure it, I eyeballed it. And I ran these grooves in there first. This one was a rip fence, the first one set at 1/8 of an inch. The next one at 5/8 of an inch, because you have to account for the curve of the saw blade, which on my saw is 1/8 inch. So once I get those run in, then I set it to 3/8, and you can see I started to cut the first one separate. And this way here, you're keeping your hands out of the way of the blade, and you've got something bigger to hang on to. And this piece of wood here had a big check in it anyway, so I'm going to throw out the rest. And that will give you the 2 strips that you want. I just wanted to share that with you. If you get one of these really fairly nice photo cubes, and they're very portable, but then you have that problem. And if you do want to cart along, and I haven't figured out yet how to fold this thing back in, but if you did, of course it'd be very easy to just package these in with the rest of it, and you could travel with it. That's what I wanted to share with you today.